There are legends who rise with a spark, shine for a season, and fade quietly into the background. And then, there are those rare forces of nature who seem to exist outside of time itself, who move through decades with the same confidence, grace, and magnetic presence that first made the world stop and listen. Diana Ross belongs to that second category. From the very beginning, her presence felt different. Elegant yet unpretentious, determined yet soft-spoken, bold yet warm. Her voice didn't simply sing melodies. It floated through eras, bridging generations, shaping the sound of American music, and influencing artists who would one day call her their North Star. But beyond the glittering gowns, the iconic performances, and the unmistakable silhouette, there has always been a deeper story, one rooted in resilience, discipline, and an unwavering belief in possibility. At 81, when she finally addressed something the world had quietly suspected for years, it felt less like a revelation and more like a confirmation of who she has always been. Tonight, before we arrive at that long-awaited truth, we step back, way back, to where it all began. Because to understand what she finally admits at 81, you must first understand the girl behind the greatness. Diana Ernestine Earl Ross was born on March 26, 1944, in Detroit, Michigan, long before anyone would call her an icon, a superstar, or the queen of Motown. She grew up in a large, close family, the second of 6 children, surrounded by the rhythm of everyday life in a working-class neighborhood. Her early world wasn't glamorous. It was filled with the noise of crowded rooms, shared chores, hand-me-down clothes, and the warmth of siblings who stuck together no matter how tight things became. Life shifted dramatically when Diana was still very young. During her childhood, her mother suffered a severe illness, forcing the Ross children to temporarily live with their grandparents in Alabama. That period, though brief, taught Diana something she never forgot: nothing in life stays still, and every moment can shape you. When the family returned to Detroit, they eventually moved into the Brewster Douglas housing projects, a place where dreams had to fight for space, but where hope was strangely abundant. The neighborhood was tough, yet full of talent. Children sang on street corners, neighbors told stories on front stoops, and music drifted from open windows on warm nights. Young Diana, always observant, soaked it all in. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room, nor the one always seeking attention. But there was something unmistakable about her. A calm confidence, a sparkle in her eyes, a sense that she was watching life carefully, collecting details, storing them deep like seeds waiting to bloom. At Cass Technical High School, a prestigious magnet school in Detroit, she didn't study music. Surprisingly, she studied fashion design, tailoring, modeling, and cosmetology. She worked part-time jobs, including becoming one of the first black students to work at a major downtown department store. She cut hair, styled neighbors, and quietly developed a sense of elegance and presentation that would one day define her stage presence. Yet even then, music tugged at her spirit. Not loudly, not aggressively, but persistently, like a whisper calling her to something greater. She joined friends who shared her passion, singing after school, harmonizing on porches, experimenting with sound in the echoes of stairwells. None of them knew it yet, but those tiny, ordinary moments, those harmonies formed between borrowed microphones, hopes, and dreams, would birth a cultural revolution. Because in that Detroit neighborhood, in that modest family, in that quiet girl with a ribbon in her hair, the beginning of an extraordinary journey had already taken root. Before the world knew Diana Ross as a global icon, she was simply a determined Detroit teenager with a soft, precise voice and a dream bigger than her surroundings. Destiny began to take shape when she formed a singing group with neighborhood friends Florence Ballard and Mary Wilson. They called themselves the Promettes, a name that sounded hopeful, youthful, and full of promise. The girls were barely out of adolescence, but they were fearless. They knocked on doors, entered talent shows, and rehearsed in living rooms and basements with all the intensity of professionals. Diana, even then, carried herself with a delicate kind of authority, not loud but noticeable, not boastful but unmistakably focused. Eventually, their persistence brought them to the attention of Motown Records, the rapidly growing Detroit label changing the landscape of American music. After initial hesitation, Motown founder Berry Gordy signed them, and the Promettes transformed into the Supremes, a name that fit them like a prophecy. The early days weren't glamorous. In fact, the Supremes struggled at first. Their recordings didn't chart. Their sound wasn't yet polished. Their confidence wavered. Some at Motown even jokingly called them the no-hit Supremes. But Diana never let discouragement take root. She listened, practiced, learned, and observed every detail, from vocal phrasing to stage walking to the way the greats carry themselves.
Then, something changed.
Under Motown's famously strict artist development, etiquette classes, choreography lessons, vocal coaching, and relentless rehearsals, Diana's star began to sharpen. Her voice was unmistakable, breathy yet clear, emotional yet controlled, with a soft urgency that drew listeners in. Soon, Diana became the lead singer, And from that moment, everything accelerated. Hit after hit reshaped American music. Where Did Our Love Go, Baby Love, Come See About Me, Stop. In the Name of Love, You Can't Hurry Love. Each song carried the unmistakable sound of Motown, that irresistible mix of passion, polish and soul, but it was Diana's voice that gave the music its heartbeat. As the Supremes rose, barriers fell. They became the first all-black female group to dominate mainstream pop charts internationally. They appeared on television shows previously reserved for white performers. And each time Diana walked across a stage in sequins and grace, she didn't just sing. She represented possibility for countless young black girls who had never seen someone who looked like them in such a spotlight. But fame, as always, brought change. Tensions grew within the group, partly due to Motown's increasing focus on Diana as a singular star. It was not a secret. Audiences fixated on her, cameras centered on her, and executives knew she had a rare magnetism that couldn't be duplicated. Slowly, inevitably, the world watched the shift. The Supremes were becoming Diana Ross and the Supremes. And with that, Diana's next chapter was being prepared behind the scenes. The girl from Detroit was no longer just part of a trio. She was becoming a phenomenon. For Diana Ross, success with the Supremes was monumental, yet it was only the beginning. As the 1960s faded and a new decade approached, Motown made an undeniable decision. Diana would launch a solo career. This transition wasn't simply a career shift, it was a metamorphosis. For the first time, Diana stepped forward not as part of a group, not sharing harmonies or spotlight, but as an independent voice with her own story, her own image, and her own destiny.
The pressure was immense.
Leaving a beloved, record-breaking group meant risking everything she had built. Audiences adored the Supremes, and many wondered, could Diana stand alone? But those doubts existed everywhere except within Diana herself. She had been preparing for this moment for years, quietly studying, perfecting, absorbing every lesson from her Motown upbringing. Her debut solo album arrived with a sound that both honored her past and stepped boldly into the future. And then came the defining moment, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. When Diana recorded that song, she didn't just sing it, she breathed life into it. Her voice climbed, descended, whispered, trembled, soared. It was a declaration that she wasn't merely stepping away from the Supremes. She was stepping into world-class stardom. The song became a massive hit, winning critical acclaim and establishing Diana as a solo powerhouse. And from there, her evolution accelerated with breathtaking speed. She transformed her image. Glamorous gowns, dramatic silhouettes, and signature hairstyles that would become part of her global identity. She conquered stages not with overpowering vocals but with a presence that was soft yet commanding, elegant yet electrifying. Her range expanded beyond music. Film producers saw in her something rare, a charisma that translated effortlessly to the screen. Soon she starred in Lady Sings the Blues, portraying Billie Holiday with a rawness that stunned audiences. She earned an Academy Award nomination, a milestone that further cemented her place as not just a singer but a multidimensional star. With each new step, each risk, each reinvention, Diana Ross proved something profound. Longevity isn't an accident, it's a craft. And she was mastering it. By the mid-1970s, she wasn't just famous, she was iconic. A symbol of elegance, ambition, resilience, and unstoppable will. The girl from the Brewster Douglas Projects had not only climbed the mountain. She stood at its highest point, shining like she always knew she would. For most artists, music is the destination. But for Diana Ross, music was only the beginning, the doorway to a wider world of possibility. By the early 1970s, Diana had already proven she could dominate the charts as both a member of the Supremes and as a solo star. What came next would elevate her from musician to cultural phenomenon. Hollywood welcomed Diana with curiosity. She was stylish, magnetic, elegant, but could she act? Could she translate the emotional nuance of her singing into a character, a story, a cinematic world? Her first major role gave the answer clearly, yes. In Lady Sings the Blues, Diana portrayed the legendary Billie Holiday, not with imitation, but with deep emotional truth. She stepped into Billie's pain, her vulnerability, her brilliance, and her tragic sense of longing.
Audiences were stunned.
Critics were captivated. Hollywood took notice. Diana Ross, the singer, became Diana Ross, the actress. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination, one of the rarest honors for a singer transitioning into film. It was a moment that expanded her identity in the public's imagination. She was no longer defined by one talent. She could slip between worlds, between melodies and monologues, between a microphone and a movie camera, with the same undeniable presence. She went on to star in Mahogany and The Wiz, each film reflecting another facet of her artistry: glamour, vulnerability, joy, theatricality. Each role, whether praised or critiqued, reminded the world that Diana Ross was not simply participating in entertainment, she was shaping it.
Fame, the double-edged spotlight.
But fame, in its most intense form, extracts a price. Diana's rise had been unprecedented for a young black woman in the American entertainment industry. The spotlight illuminated her triumphs, but it also magnified her every struggle. Critics questioned her ambition. Rumors circled her personal life. The public, captivated by her image, often overlooked the human being beneath the sequins. Behind the scenes, Diana was raising a family. She married, became a mother, worked through heartbreaks, made difficult decisions, and balanced the impossible pressures of celebrity with the quiet responsibilities of home. She tried, sometimes gracefully, sometimes imperfectly, to build a private life in a world that wanted every piece of her. Her children became her anchor. The love she had for them was the kind of love grounded in routine and devotion. School mornings, bedtime stories, gentle conversations, small moments of normalcy that fame could not erase. She protected them fiercely. She wanted them to grow up with stability, with identity, with a sense of self that didn't depend on their mother's spotlight. Offstage, Diana Ross was surprisingly shy, soft-spoken, and introspective. Her elegance was real, but it wasn't her whole truth. She laughed easily, loved deeply, and maintained a circle of close friends who understood the woman behind the legend. She carried herself with discipline, waking early, rehearsing relentlessly, prioritizing her health, and maintaining the image that became synonymous with her name. But beneath all of it was a quiet strength, a strength born from Detroit, from adversity, from knowing that she had worked for every inch of her success. Fame shaped her, yes. But it did not define her. Diana Ross defined herself. As the years passed, Diana Ross entered a rare category in entertainment. She became not just a star of her era, but a lasting symbol across generations. Her legacy grew not because of nostalgia, but because her influence never stopped evolving. A musical influence that spanned generations. Her voice, soft, distinctive, instantly recognizable, became part of the American soundtrack. Artists across genres, from R&B to pop to soul to even early hip-hop, cited her as an inspiration. Her songs were sampled, covered, reinterpreted, honored. Young singers studied her phrasing. Stylists studied her look. Performers studied her presence. Entire genres, from disco to pop soul, grew on foundations she helped build. Her tours became spiritual experiences for fans. Whether performing in a stadium, on a late-night show, or at a global event, she brought an energy that felt both intimate and grand. A warm glow that radiated from her voice, her movement, her smile. Many artists struggled to remain relevant as music evolves. Diana transitioned effortlessly between eras. The 1960s gave us the polished Motown sound. The 1970s gave us soul disco glamour. The 1980s brought synth-pop and new wave influences. The 1990s and 2000s embraced adult contemporary and emotional ballads. And through each era, Diana kept her identity intact. She didn't chase trends, she adapted them to herself. Her music matured as she matured. Her performances grew deeper, not louder. Her artistic voice expanded without abandoning the softness that made her unique. Diana Ross's legacy is not limited to albums or awards. She represents something larger, the power of presence, identity, and representation. She broke racial barriers that once seemed immovable. She showed Hollywood that a black woman could lead major films. She showed the music industry that elegance and strength were not opposites. She showed audiences that reinvention was not betrayal, it was growth. Fashion houses studied her silhouette. Award shows honored her career. Younger icons, Beyoncé, Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Jennifer Lopez, and countless others, cited her as blueprint, influence, or inspiration. With each passing decade, the world expected Diana Ross to slow down, disappear, or settle quietly into retirement. And each time she returned, with concerts, albums, public appearances, and moments that made fans gasp with disbelief. The truth is simple. Diana Ross is one of the rare figures whose legacy doesn't fade, it deepens. Her longevity is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of discipline, vision, passion, and a lifetime of choosing excellence over comfort. Diana Ross is not merely a figure of the past. She is a living, breathing testament to what it means to be iconic. And as she reached her 80s, with the world watching her move through life with that same familiar grace, people began to whisper a question, a suspicion, a thought they felt but could never quite confirm.
Until now.
At 81 years old, Diana Ross stepped into 2025 with a kind of presence that didn't just surprise the world. It confirmed everything people had whispered about for years, because for decades fans wondered how she continued moving with the same elegance and force that electrified stages in the 1960s. and as she appeared in recent concerts, interviews, and public celebrations, something became undeniably clear. Diana Ross was not slowing down, not stepping back, not retreating into the quiet shadows of retirement, but instead stepping forward with a renewed sense of command, proving to everyone watching that the power she carried wasn't nostalgia, wasn't memory, wasn't merely legacy. It was something alive, present, active, and stronger than ever, and her 2025 appearances delivered a message without her having to speak it directly, a message that echoed through arenas, red carpets, televised award shows, and fan videos online. Diana Ross still wanted the stage, still wanted the spotlight, still wanted to give, to create, to perform, to be seen not as someone who was legendary but someone who is legendary, and the sheer energy she brought each time reinforced the truth people had long suspected about her character. That her drive had never been casual, never been temporary, never been built only on chart success or fame, but rooted in a deep, lifelong hunger for artistry, a hunger untouched by age or circumstance. So when crowds saw her gliding out in shimmering gowns, delivering notes with that unmistakable timbre, and greeting audiences with warmth that felt almost personal, they understood that Diana Ross, even now, existed not as a symbol of a past era but as a force still shaping the present one. When Diana Ross finally addressed the world with a statement everyone had been waiting for, she didn't reveal a scandal, she didn't unveil a tragedy, she didn't confess some hidden drama. Instead, she confirmed something far quieter and far more powerful, the suspicion that had followed her for years, that she would never fade away, never exit gracefully into the background, never surrender her crown as the eternal boss. Because performing was not a chapter in her life story, but the very heartbeat of it. And as she spoke about why she continues, why she still steps onto stages, why she still prepares, sings, dreams, and gives, her words revealed a truth fans had always sensed but never heard directly, that the fire within her wasn't maintained by obligation or expectation but by love, pure love, for music, for expression, for the audience who built a bridge between her life and theirs. And in that moment the public understood that this confirmation wasn't about ego or legacy but about identity, because Diana Ross didn't simply become an icon. She has always been someone who needs to create, to shine, to connect, and her announcement reaffirmed that she wasn't done, wasn't leaving, wasn't stepping down from the stage of life but instead continuing into the next chapter the same way she had approached every era before, with strength, beauty, determination, and an unshakable belief that her story is still unfolding, still meaningful, still worthy of being lived out loud. And this revelation struck people not because it shocked them but because it confirmed exactly what they had always suspected. Diana Ross, even at 81, remains unstoppable. As Diana Ross continued to appear on stages and screens around the world, the echoes of her influence began to sound louder than they had in years, not because she was trying to prove anything but because people, across generations, across cultures, across distances, found themselves responding to her presence in ways that felt deeply personal. And it became clear that the impact she carried was not limited to the fans who watched her rise during the golden years of Motown, but extended to younger artists, young dreamers, and even children who knew her voice before they knew her name, who recognized her songs because their parents played them during car rides, holiday dinners, or moments of joy that became family memories. And as these fans spoke out on social media, in interviews, at concerts, and in documentaries, a pattern emerged. Admiration grew, not for the legend of Diana Ross but for the living, breathing woman who continued to step forward with courage and grace at an age when many of her peers chose to quietly retreat. People who had seen her live decades ago shared stories of concerts where her voice filled entire stadiums with warmth, stories of seeing her in gowns that shimmered like stars, stories of how she made every person feel singled out, recognized, and pulled into her world. And now, in 2025, those same fans often stood beside their children or grandchildren at her shows, creating a kind of generational passing of the torch. The idea that Diana Ross was not just a figure in music history but a thread running through the lives of millions, binding them together through shared emotion, hope, and celebration. Younger artists, singers, dancers, musicians, producers, spoke just as passionately, crediting Diana Ross not only for shaping the blueprint of what a superstar could be but for proving that longevity wasn't a mythical concept, that true artistry could endure beyond decades, trends, awards, and even industry reinvention, and her influence could be heard everywhere, in Beyoncé's meticulous showmanship, in Bruno Mars' polished stage presence, in the way modern performers embraced glamour, drama, precision, and emotional connection, because whether or not they grew up during her prime, they absorb her influence through the artists she shaped. And perhaps the most meaningful reactions came from everyday people, teachers, nurses, parents, teenagers, who wrote messages saying that seeing Diana Ross at 81, still shining, still rising, still pouring joy into her craft, reminded them that life did not end at a certain age, that dreams didn't need to expire, that passion wasn't limited to youth, and that reinvention could be part of every chapter, not just the early ones. And for many women especially, Diana Ross became a symbol of what it meant to age with dignity and power, to remain vibrant even when the world often tried to quiet older voices. And these women said that watching her brought them comfort, confidence, and a new sense of permission to embrace their own lives without apology. In this chorus of voices, from lifelong fans to first-time listeners, from celebrities to everyday individuals, the message became unmistakably clear. Diana Ross's presence wasn't just nostalgic, wasn't just iconic, it was active, inspiring, and profoundly necessary, and her continued glow confirmed that her legacy didn't sit behind her, locked in the past, but lived ahead of her, shaping the future with every step she still chose to take. As the documentary shifts toward Diana Ross's current life and the meaning of her journey in 2025, the picture that emerges is not one of an aging star looking back at her achievements but of a woman standing firmly in the present, aware of her history yet not defined by it, aware of her influence yet not controlled by it. And what makes her story resonate so strongly today is that she represents a rare kind of longevity, one built not on clinging to fame but on continuing to evolve, adapt, and express herself with a sense of purpose that seems untouched by the passage of time. Her journey, when viewed across the arc of more than 6 decades, reveals a truth that most people quietly suspected but rarely heard spoken aloud: that Diana Ross was never merely a singer, never merely a performer, never merely a superstar. She was and is a leader, a visionary, someone who reshaped the possibilities for Black women in entertainment, someone who opened doors by walking through them first, someone who made elegance a language and ambition an identity, and someone whose presence demanded that the world take notice, even during eras when the world tried to limit who could be seen, heard, and celebrated. In 2025, as she continued to move through life with the same unmistakable grace, the meaning of her legacy took on a deeper, more human dimension, because now fans saw not only the glamorous gowns or the dazzling performances but the strength it took to remain herself through every era, the strength to transition from Motown to solo stardom, the resilience to navigate personal challenges under the intense scrutiny of fame, the courage to take risks, evolve her sound, and command stages around the world even when trends changed, critics shifted, and new generations redefined the industry. Her legacy now is not simply about hits like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Endless Love, or I'm Coming Out, although those will forever anchor her in music history. Instead, it is about the unwavering energy with which she continues to live, create, and inspire, proving that greatness does not retire, that purpose does not dim with age, and that artistry can remain alive as long as the heart behind it stays open and determined. And as Diana Ross spoke more candidly this year, confirming the deeper truth that lay beneath her timeless glow, that she continues not because she must but because she wants to, fans realized the significance of her revelation. She was living proof that passion can carry someone through decades without fading, that dreams can evolve without ending, and that a legend is not something frozen in time but something that keeps breathing, moving, and shining in new ways year after year. In the end, her journey means something profoundly hopeful to the world: that life can still be bold at 81, that reinvention can still be beautiful, that joy can still be found in the work you love, and that even when the world believes your story is complete, you can choose to write another chapter simply because your spirit refuses to be done. And Diana Ross, still radiant, still commanding, still undeniably herself, remains the living proof of that truth.